There's this one habit, this thing that so many of us do to prepare for a big presentation, and it turns out it doesn't just not help, it actively messes up our performance. So we're going to break down exactly what that habit is, and way more importantly, how you can fix it.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed just how incredibly easy it is to imagine every single thing going wrong right before you have to speak? Right? You're there, waiting to go on, and your mind just starts playing this disaster movie on a loop. You see yourself forgetting your words, your hands start shaking, you picture a sea of bored faces. It's so automatic, we just kind of write it off as, oh, I'm just nervous. But this is what we're really doing. We're running a rehearsal for failure. It's this bizarre idea we have that by imagining the absolute worst, we're somehow getting ready for it. We think we're preparing ourselves for anything, but we're actually doing the exact opposite.
And listen, this isn't just some harmless worrying. When you indulge this habit, it is a full-on act of self-sabotage. It's not just background noise, it's an active process that absolutely tanks your execution and completely warps how you see reality.
So let's put a name to it. What we're talking about is negative imagery. And this isn't passive. It's the act of vividly, in high definition, imagining failure. When you do this, you are literally pre-programming your mind and your body for the exact disaster you're afraid of. It's the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy.
And the consequences, they're pretty severe. This little mental rehearsal forces you into this defensive, anxious state. It completely hijacks your nervous system. And here's the kicker. It makes all those intrusive negative thoughts feel overwhelmingly real and totally valid once you're actually on stage.
And when I say it warps your perception of reality, I am not exaggerating. Get this. Spending just 5 minutes visualizing a bad speech can make you overestimate your own mistakes by almost double. You end up thinking you're failing twice as badly as you actually are.
So how do we know this for sure? Well, let's dive into this fascinating landmark experiment from 2006 that put this whole idea of mental rehearsal to the test. A team of British researchers wanted to find out the exact impact our pre-show thoughts have on how we do. So they got 60 people, a mix of university students and staff. A pretty simple setup, right? But what they did next was incredibly revealing. They split them into 3 groups. Group 1 had to spend 5 minutes vividly imagining a terrible speech. Total disaster. Group 2 did the opposite. 5 minutes imagining an absolutely awesome, killer speech. And Group 3? Well, to get a neutral baseline, they had them vividly imagine a trip to the grocery store, which, makes perfect sense. All right, so after their 5-minute mental trip, whether it was to Disaster Town, Success City, or the produce aisle, every single person was hit with the same high-pressure task. They got just 30 seconds to prep a 4-minute speech on the pros and cons of living in London, and then they had to deliver it to a camera. And the results? Oh, they showed this absolutely shocking gap between perception and reality. What they found reveals everything about why that little pre-show habit of ours is so incredibly destructive. Okay, first off, just look at the anxiety levels. The group that imagined failure, they reported feeling way more anxious during their speech. I mean, they're scoring over 42 on the anxiety scale, while the positive group is chilling down around 34. What they thought about beforehand directly translated into how they felt. But here's where it gets really wild. It wasn't just a feeling of being more anxious. The negative group also said that the intrusive, negative thoughts they had while speaking felt more true. The disaster they imagined felt like it was actually happening in real time. But hold on, because this next part is the real mind bender. An independent observer rated how nervous the speakers actually looked, and while both groups were their own worst critics, the negative imagery group's perception was completely off the charts. They overestimated how nervous they seemed by a massive 37 points. The positive group, they were off by a much smaller 22 points.
So, the takeaway here is crystal clear. We have to stop rehearsing for failure and start scripting our success. It's really all about adopting a champion's mindset.
It reminds me of what Michael Jordan famously said. He asked, "Why would I imagine missing a shot that I haven't even taken yet?" That is the core principle right there. The best performers don't practice failing in their heads. They practice winning.
And that is the heart of all of this. What you vividly imagine in those few minutes before you go on directly and powerfully carries over into how you feel and think during the actual performance.
So, here's the fix, and it only takes 5 minutes. Seriously, before you perform, find a quiet spot. Close your eyes and just vividly imagine a flawless performance. See yourself hitting every point.
Picture the audience nodding along, smiling, totally engaged. And, this is key, let yourself actually feel the confidence of that success.
It's really that simple. You have to actively fight that automatic urge to picture the worst-case scenario. Stop using your incredibly powerful imagination to practice failing. Start using it to practice your success.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about the next time you're feeling that pressure build. Why are you mentally bombing a presentation you haven't even given yet?